For those who are interested in the morbid and the macabre, they will know that every city has its own very dark tourism hotspots. The City of Angels is no exception. The largest city in California, Los Angeles, is well known for its Mediterranean climate, Hollywood entertainment industry, surfer's paradise, beaches, and some of the most gruesome murders in U.S. history. Dark tourism creates a sense of excitement as if you were experiencing the forbidden. These following murder houses all attract hundreds of thrill seekers every year, and they also come with their own sinister backstories. So here are 10 murder houses in Los Angeles and their sinister backstories. Number 10, the Wonderland Gang Murder. On July 1st, 1981, one of the most brutal slayings in Los Angeles history became known as the Wonderland Murders. John Curtis Holmes was a superstar in the world of hardcore pornography. Due to his physical abnormality, it was not long before Holmes fell into a downward spiral of addiction. Holmes' close associate Ron Lonius was appointed leader of the Wonderland Gang. When a deal between the gang and drug kingpin Eddie Nash went wrong, Holmes' associates robbed Nash of drugs, jewelry, and $1.2 million in cash. Later, Nash discovered that Holmes was involved in the robbery, and it is strongly believed he sent his henchman Greg Dials to settle the score. According to witnesses, Dials entered the apartment at 8763 Wonderland Avenue in the Laurel Canyon approximately 3 a.m. and beat to death Joy Miller, Billy DeVore, and Barbara Richardson with a pipe as they slept on the couch. Dials then forced Holmes to beat Lonius to death with the pipe until his head exploded. Susan Lonius was also brutally beaten in her bed, but she miraculously survived, albeit with life-changing injuries. Despite the witnesses' testimonies, Holmes, Nash, and Dials were never charged with the murders. Holmes died from complications by AIDS in March of 1988. Number 9, Los Feliz Murder Mansion. On the night of December 6, 1959, at 2475 Glendower Place in the affluent area of Los Feliz, one of Los Angeles' creepiest mysteries took place. At approximately 4:30 a.m., cardiologist Dr. Harold Perlison struck his wife Linian in the head with a ball-bean hammer as she laid in bed. Linian died of asphyxiation from swallowing her own blood. Dr. Perlison then struck his 16-year-old daughter Jude with the same hammer, which woke her screaming. The neighbors heard Jude scream, "Don't kill me," before she managed to run out of the house and call for help. Jude's younger sister, 11-year-old Debbie, was still in the house, and when she awoke, her father told said, "Go back to bed. This is a nightmare." Then he took a fatal overdose. Nobody could understand why such a talented doctor who adored his wife and children would wake in the middle of the night and bludgeon them in their sleep. For 60 years, the Los Feliz mansion stood untouched. A painter who worked on the property told CBS, basically, it's like a crime scene frozen in time. He described the family's Christmas tree with presents wrapped underneath and had been there since the murders took place. Number 8, murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez. On August 20th, 1989, Jose and Kitty Menendez were enjoying a quiet night at their Beverly Hills mansion on North Elm Drive when their sons committed the crime of the century. During the evening, 21-year-old Lyle and 18-year-old Eric entered the living room and opened fire with a Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun. Jose was shot in the back of the head and Kitty was shot in the leg while trying to run from the room. She was then shot in the face, leaving her unrecognizable. The Menendez brothers then shot both their parents in the kneecaps to stage the crime scene as a mafia hit. From the night of the murders and up to their arrest, the brothers bought a Rolex watch, a Porsche Carrera, hired a professional tennis coach, and went on vacation in the Caribbean. It is believed that they spent somewhere around $700,000 in 100 days. According to their own defense, the Menendez brothers had suffered years of sexual and emotional abuse at the hands of their mega-rich parents, so they agreed to defend themselves in a fatal way. A jury found them both guilty, and they were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Number 7, the unsolved murder of Bugsy Siegel. Notorious mobster Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was well known for being the man behind the development of the Las Vegas Strip, and he had a net worth equal to $100 million today. Along the way, he certainly made a lot of powerful enemies, including Paul John Frankie Carbo, a mafia shoulder in the Lucky's crime family, who operated as a gunman with Murder Inc. Seagal spent many years developing his dream house in Holmby Hills for his wife and children. The mansion reportedly had several secret panels, a secret corridor behind a bookcase, and hidden trapdoors. Also, the 1.84-acre property, there was a 60-foot swimming pool and a championship tennis court. However, on the night of June 20th, 1947, Seagal was at the home of his girlfriend Virginia Hill at 810 North Linden Drive, Beverly Hills, although she had already left for Paris. He was also joined by his longtime friend and associate Alan Smiley. Suddenly, shots from an M1 carbine were fired through the front window, killing Seagal immediately and badly injuring Smiley. The murder has never been solved. Number 6. The murder of Lena Clarkson. Record producer and songwriter Phil Spector has worked with some of the biggest names in the music industry, including the Beatles, the Ronettes, and Ike and Tina Turner. On February 3rd, 2003, Spector met a 40-year-old actress, Lena Clarkson, at the House of Blues on the Sunset Strip. He invited her to his house at 1700 Grandview Drive, Alhambra. Hours later, Clarkson's body was found slumped in a chair. The bottom of her mouth blown off, her broken teeth scattered across the carpet, and a .36 Colt revolver under her left leg. Spector told his driver, "I think I've killed somebody." Spector claimed Clarkson had taken her own life with the gun. Evidence against Spector was that Clarkson had given no indication that she was suicidal, and that people rarely kill themselves at the home of a stranger. Law professor Gene Rosenbluth told The Guardian, if this were not Phil Spector, with a lot of money to spend, a trial like this would never have gone on for so long. Cases don't usually go to trial when there is much evidence against the defendant. In 2007, the judge declared a mistrial because of a hung jury. Then in 2008, during a retrial, the jury returned a guilty verdict. He was sentenced to 19 years to life in the California state prison system and will be eligible for parole in 2024. That's just 3 years away. Number 5. Murder of William Desmond Taylor. One of the biggest mysteries in Hollywood history is who murdered William Desmond Taylor. Lieutenant Tom Ziegler was told this was a natural death, but when he arrived at his house on South Alvarado Street, he noticed Taylor had a bullet wound in his back. There were many suspects. Representatives from Paramount Studios who employed Taylor seized all the letters at his house. It is suspected that the studio wanted to cover something up. But what exactly? There was also teenage Silent from film star Mary Miles Minister, whose mother, Charlotte Shelby, hated the relationship between her daughter and the director. Shelby had previously threatened to kill another director who was close to her daughter. After Taylor's murder, Shelby's alibi witness received a suspicious amount of money. It was also revealed that Minter had previously tried to shoot herself with the same type of gun that was used to murder Taylor. Lately, in her biography, Minter had admitted that both she and her mother were at Taylor's house on the night of the murder. Still to this day, the murder has never been solved. Number 4. Murders of Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman. On June 12, 1994, the bodies of Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman were discovered shortly after midnight at 875 South Bundy Drive in Brentwood. An autopsy revealed Brown had been stabbed several times in the neck and had a gash across her throat so severe she was nearly decapitated. The defensive wounds on Goldman led investigators to believe he died trying to save Brown from her attacker. A single bloody glove was also found at the property. Brown's ex-husband, O.J. Simpson, was arrested on suspicion of double homicide. Investigators discovered blood on a white Ford Bronco at his home address. They also discovered a woman's shelter had received a panic call from Brown 4 days prior to her murder. Brown said she was afraid of what Simpson might do to her as she refused to reconcile their marriage. She had also reported a missing set of house keys, which were later found on Simpson when he was arrested. The people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson lasted 18 months and dubbed by the media as the trial of the century. But O.J. Simpson was later acquitted. Number 3. Murder of Susan Berman. Susan Berman was an author and daughter of Davy Berman, a mobster who took the place of Bugsy Siegel at Las Vegas Flamingo Hotel following his murder. Berman herself was only 12 years old when her father died under mysterious circumstances during an operation, and a year later, her mother committed suicide. She suspected foul play in both of their deaths. Gradually, she received a total of $4.3 million from the mafia due to her father's business interests. In 1967, while studying at UCLA, she first met real estate hire Robert Durst. On December 23, 2000, Berman was murdered execution style with a 9mm handgun at her home on Benedict Cannon Drive in Beverly Hills. In 2015, Durst was arrested for Berman's murder, and it was also believed that he killed his first wife, Kathleen, who went missing in New York in 1982. It was discovered that New York State Police had reopened an investigation into Kathleen's disappearance, and as Berman was Durst's closest confidant, she was due to be interviewed in connection with the case. She was killed just weeks after the reopened investigation was made public. Durst is currently in Los Angeles County Jail, awaiting trial. Number 2. The Hillside Strangler Murders. Serial killers Angelo Bono and Kenneth Banacki, who were also cousins, had abducted and murdered 10 victims. All young women ranging in ages from 12 to 28, between October 1977 to February 1978. The case became known in the media as the Hillside Strangler case because investigators initially believed there was just one killer committing these crimes. Many of the victims were taken to Bono's Seedley Lair at 703 East Colorado Street, Glendale. This was both home and business for Bono, and as he used the property, was also his auto upholstery shop. The bodies of the victims were then dumped on the hillsides around the Glendale area. Deputy Attorney General Roger W. Warren wrote in the Loyola of Los Angeles Law Review, "One could draw a circle around Glendale using the intersection of Glendale Avenue and Colorado Street as its center, and within the circle roughly locate all the sites where the victims' bodies were discovered." And number 1, the Manson family murders. On August 8, 1969, cult leader Charles Manson sent 4 members of the Manson family to the home of actress Sharon Tate, who was just 2 weeks away from giving birth. His instructions were leave something witchy. Text Watson, Susan Atkins, Linda Kesbian, and Patricia Quenwinkle climb the gates at 10:50 Kylo Drive, Beverly Hills, and cut the telephone wires. They murdered Tate and her unborn child, 18-year-old Stephen Parent, celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring, screenwriter Wojciech Faworski, and Faworski's girlfriend Abigail Folger. The following night, Manson ordered them to kill again. Leno and Rosemary LeBlanc Bianca were murdered at their home on Waverly Drive in Los Angeles. 5 months before the brutal slayings, Manson had visited Tate's house. Manson was a failed rock musician and looking for record producer Terry Melker. However, Melker's mother's singer, Doris Day, had already convinced her son to move out of the property earlier that year, as she had a bad feeling about the place.